One, two, three,
Mars. I always thought of it as a romantic place, a planet of mystery and adventure. Came here 6 months ago thinking it would be an escape from Earth. I wanted some time to think, to figure out what to do with my life. A year in the Altor mine sounded like a great way to straighten myself out. Man, was I a fool.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gorlock from Mediocre Gamers Anonymous and Paradox Gaming, and this is the inaugural voyage of our new series, Retro Recovery. Retro Recovery is a series where we take a look at older games and kind of relive them in case you missed them the first time. Today we're going to take a look at Red Faction, which is one that's really close to my heart. This was the first online multiplayer game that I ever got into, and I put many hours into this one. Unfortunately, these days the online community is not as big as it used to be, so I'm going to mostly show you single player stuff here, but there are still some custom map servers out there. What's great about this game, in addition to it being one of the very early first-person shooter multiplayer online games, is that it was the first ever game to include geomod, which basically allows you to change the environment around you. You can blow holes in the wall, destroy pretty much any part of the environment around you. It also has very different styles of gameplay as you go through the game. You know, you'll notice here that you're supposed to be stealthy. Obviously, I set the alarm off, so that kind of went to hell. But you'll have stealth missions, you'll have, you know, run and gun stuff, and you'll even have vehicles that you can drive. Another thing that's kind of fun is that this game is completely linear, so you go from start to the end without having to, you know, run side missions or anything like that. It's just one continuous fluid game. So a little bit about the game itself is you star as Parker, who is somebody who went to the Altor mines, which are on Mars, and he thought he was going to kind of get his life together, but come to find out that it's not all as advertised. Altor is basically using the miners as guinea pigs. They're testing out biological warfare, and they're testing out gene splicing on these miners who don't realize what the disease is and don't know how to cure it. Their lives are basically worthless as far as the Altor guards are concerned. So EOS starts this Red Faction, which is what the game is named after, of course. And basically it's the unification of the miners against the Altor guards. So once the revolution starts, it's basically every miner against every member of Altor. Anyone who doesn't submit basically is considered an enemy of the company, and they're murdered. So not only are you fighting for your life, but you're fighting for the life of every other miner on Mars. In this part of the mission, you capture one of the high-ranking CEOs and basically convince him to help you against Altor. He has incredible information that basically proves invaluable to the Red Faction community, and eventually helps them figure out how to cure the plague. There are some other badass characters as well in addition to Parker, but you only get to play as Parker in this particular game. But EOS, obviously the leader of the Red Faction, is a badass girl, and also one of the squad leaders, Orion, kicks a whole lot of ass as well.
My squad's almost reached the maintenance area, Parker. Orphan alive. Orion, my best lieutenant, is leading the squad.
Another thing that's great about Red Faction is that there's easy, medium, hard, and impossible mode. So if you're one that looks for a challenge, you can jump right into impossible mode. And I still find that a little bit easy, but it's definitely still a challenge. And the other thing that's great is that this game has been out for so long, and it comes with its own content creator. So there's thousands of user-made maps that are available for download, and also custom campaigns. So even once you finish the basic campaign, you can still have hours and hours and hours of fun in this game because you can download user-made campaigns. As far as the multiplayer, pretty standard stuff. You have single-player deathmatch, team deathmatch, team capture the flag. So it was one of the first shooters to actually have a CTF availability, which is really cool. Lot of hours put into that one, I can tell you that. The other thing that's pretty cool about this game is that the graphics hold up pretty well, even today. So, you know, if you're one of those people that don't like ugly games, like, even though I think Quake is a classic game, for example, the graphics can be a little wonky in that one, this one still holds up pretty well. This was also the first game in a series of games put out by THQ, and I loved the whole series. Unfortunately, the later games weren't as popular as this one. They kind of fell behind the times, and THQ has since gone under. But they did have a rogue kind of community break off from THQ proper that still put out quote-unquote THQ content, but the company as a whole has gone under. But that being said, I still definitely recommend checking out Armageddon, Guerrilla, or even Red Faction 2. That was probably the weakest of all the titles, but I still had a lot of fun with that one. That one was more based on the idea of super soldiers and genetic mutation. But one of the characters in it's voiced by Jason Statham, so pretty badass. I'll probably get into that one in another video at some point.
The launch bay is just down this elevator.
One of the super cool things about this game as well is the complement of weaponry that you're able to use. Most of it's pretty standard. You have your assault rifle, like I have here, submachine gun you saw me use, precision rifle, which is incredible. It's basically a semi-auto assault rifle with a variable zoom scope, and it hits like a fucking truck. As well as, you know, rocket launchers, grenades, a fusion rocket launcher, which is basically like a mini nuke, which does a crazy amount of damage. You also have to be careful though, because you can blow your own self away using that one if you're not careful. Unlike Halo, you can't use vehicles in multiplayer, which I know is kind of disappointing, but the times you get to use like this aircraft, for example, in the campaign is a whole hell of a lot of fun. There's also submarines that you can use, and I believe there's a jeep. So some of the custom campaigns or custom multiplayer maps may have implemented those. I haven't seen all of the multiplayer maps available for download because there's just so many. I mean, this game was pretty big back at launch because, you know, it was one of the first, like I said, to have moddable environment and a crazy online multiplayer. So when it first came out, it was big time, and a lot of people used the content creator to make their own maps and stuff, which is really cool. Like I said, you know, the fact that it came base game came with a level creator was incredible for the time. I mean, you know, you're talking late 90s, early 2000s, so pretty innovative for the time. These days you can still find this game. It's on the Steam market, as well as, you know, you could get it on Amazon or whatever. It's a game that's still playable, even with Windows 10. I didn't have to, but you may have to run the compatibility for an earlier Windows. I know it definitely works flawlessly with 8. I didn't bother to update to 10 because I heard so many, you know, not so great things about it. But anyway, that may be a roadblock for some, but it shouldn't be too big a deal. Game should be pretty cheap at this point as well, but whatever, even if it was up to $10, I would say it's still absolutely worth it. It's a great title. You'll spend hours in the campaign, whereas, you know, today's campaigns, you can beat it in, you know, 2-3 hours. This one will take you a while. There's a lot of content, and then, like I said, you know, just the hours of gameplay added with user-based creations, if you can find websites to download that stuff from, and all the downloads are free for that, is, you know, tons and tons of playtime in one game. So I definitely recommend it, and I thank you for watching.
I didn't know they had any on Mars.
As always, thank you everyone so much for watching my videos. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with me. As always, be good to each other, and let's game.